Ray Epps is set to be criminally charged for events on January 6th. So says both MSDNC and the Daily Wire. So we'll be talking about that, what this means, what this may be covering up for, and where our country goes from there. In other news, the Secret Service has officially ended the investigation into cocaine found at the White House because, wouldn't you know it, they couldn't find any DNA or fingerprints or anything identifying on this. And they're just going to let it go. Why would we keep looking for somebody like this? So we'll talk about that and what that means for our country and what we do from there. Hollywood actors have joined the writers on strike, which will make new episodes very, 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 very scarce as we come forward. But hey, at least I like to look at some of the old stuff. And the Bank of America is accused of opening fake accounts and charging illegal junk fees. What fake accounts are they doing? Well, it might be credit cards. We will see what happens with that and what we do from there. It is going to be all of this and more. Plus, things I like and things that I hate. I was the one flying the balloons. I am J. Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is J. Edgar, and we have got a short show tonight. And this is not for me feeling tired or feeling sick or anything else like that, where I feel lazy and I don't want to do it. It's just we're getting into a slow news cycle again, which honestly will be kind of nice. I know that I love sitting here for a couple hours and having the conversation with you guys here, but occasionally it would be nice to have a break and get some dinner early on and maybe watch a movie or something. A movie would be nice. I've been watching more movies lately, even if they suck. I watched a crap movie on Netflix the other night. Yes, I still have Netflix. Yet they've not cracked down on the sharing for us. I maybe shouldn't say that completely out loud, but I have kept mine going. I found a really crappy vampire movie from 2021 on there, and I watched it. It was okay, I guess. It wasn't terrible. And it wasn't completely steeped in id pole either, surprisingly enough. But it didn't have the same effect as Blade or Blade Trinity. It is Night Teeth if you want to go check it out for yourself. But basically you're going to waste 2 hours of really no point. But we're not here for movies. We might talk movies later on here, but I got some really cool stuff for things that I like and things that I hate tonight. Especially on the things that I like side. We've got an announcement that came out today. That's something I'm fairly excited for. I might spend money because of this, you guys. And I almost never spend money. So we will see what's happening with that, where that goes, and what that means. But let's get on into the news. Before we get started, make sure you guys go check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, Tweets by Brit, Mr. Behavior, The No Gimmicks Podcast, Silent Caster, and Clown World Chronicles with Papa Palpatine. That's right, go check out all that great programming as we aim to bring you a better news and culture experience from the common man for the common man. That is right, stop getting your news and culture from people who wear suits that cost more than your house and people who hate you. Get your news and culture from people who are just like you, who wear t-shirts and flannel and button-downs and sometimes an Adidas tracksuit and have had to make some of the same decisions that you have. So go check out all that great programming. It's been a great time. We do check live chat throughout the show, so on all platforms. If you feel there's something about the news that you want to come out and say, or you just want to tell me what you're having for dinner, that is our new big one for the night. I want to know what you guys are having for dinner, so put that in the chat. And I might steal some of your recipes. And hey, I might even stream myself making some of your recipes. So we've got that. Let's get down into the news. We maybe take a little bit of time with this, but let's get started. And we're going to start with our finance segment, as we always do, with the Dow. Let's get the live chat up so we can see what you guys are doing here. I've got the Rumble up for you. Let's get the main chat up. No, I will not be muted, Mogwai, with the Jammin' Apu. Damn, sniffed up the wrong tree. Alec Baldwin always strikes first, just remember. Words to live by, right there. Thank you, Mogwai. The airplane vampire movie? I don't know if I know which movie you're talking about, but given the fact that I've only ever seen 5 movies in my life, that's probably not surprising that I don't know a reference about a movie. So that's what we have for that. Let's look in at the Dow. The Dow spent the day up again today. We are on a 4-day win streak for the Dow right now. Looking up, it wasn't a big jump. And in fact, it did fall and settle off again. The Dow ending at 34,395.14. That is up 47.71 points, or 0.14% on the day. So a little bit, I mean, it was kind of strong right out of the gate, and it just faltered throughout the rest of the day. So that's what we see coming from that. Looking in at your Bitcoin report. Bitcoin did quite well, especially towards the end of the day, trading mostly flat through the overnight hours and into the trading into the day before spiking up. And it settled back off again, but not very far. The Dow is up above the 31,000, or I'm sorry, the Bitcoin rather is above the 31,000 mark at 31,334 US dollars and 50 US cents. That is up 952 US dollars and 50 US cents. 3 full percentage points today, 3.14 on the Bitcoin today. So if you had the Bitcoin, if you play that game, congratulations, you have won on the day. Your gas prices in the Madison area are starting to catch up with all of each other. We still have a few outliers at the 316, especially if you're heading into the Isthmus, or 320. And I might actually go and find this one because I think I'm going to be down by Madison over the weekend. I might even find the Amoco on the Isthmus this weekend. We've got a 330 outlier here with a 320 mobile outlier. But all your quick trips around both the east and west side are up to 340, which means that gas prices are rising again. Check your local listings to see what your local prices are, but they should be rising right about in line with what the quick trips are doing here. So that's what we see coming from the Madison area gas prices. Let's grab one from IBD. Let's see what they have going on for our investment report today. Dow Jones gains amid Disney TV shock. This Kathy Woodstock hit the buy zone as she loads up, from Michael Larkin. The Dow closed higher despite a Disney TV bombshell from CEO Bob Iger. A Kathy Woodstock was in a buy zone after the famed investor bought shares red-hot AI stock NVIDIA cleared a buy point. A number of stocks passed buy points amid the buoyant action. The leaderboard stocks ASML, which is not ASMR, and On Holding tested entries, while Magellan Midstream Partners MMP is in a buy zone. Let's sit for a second, just appreciate how awesome the Terra theme is from Final Fantasy VII. Alright, that's enough. I said just a second. Stocks were boosted following more positive inflation news. The producer price index came in below views. This applied to both overall and core producer prices. Meanwhile, initial unemployment claims unexpectedly dropped to 237 versus 248,000 the previous week. Economists expected claims to edge higher to 249,000. The jobs market continues to show impressive strength. Treasury yields fell again. The 10-year yield tumbled 10 points to 3.76, while the 2-year yield dropped 12 points to 4.62. And the fact, again, by the way, that it's still at 4.62 is absolutely ridiculous. We do not have a GDP to back up 4.62%. Where our GDP is growing 1.2%, and the yield, the payout on a bond in 2 years, is at 4.62%. Something doesn't math here, folks. Nevertheless, the yield curve remains inverted. The Nasdaq popped again with the tech-heavy index roaring 1.6% higher. IBD sector leaders stock Zscaler was the top performer here, rising 5.4%. The benchmark S&P 500 finished the session up 0.9. EPAM Systems was a noteworthy performer in the S&P as it jumped 4.8%. Both indices closed at their highest levels in 2023 so far. Volume was lower on both the New York Stock Exchange and Nasdaq according to early data. The S&P sectors finished mostly positive. Communication services and tech were the top gainers. Health and energy were only laggards in the stock market today. Small caps partook in the gains, with the Russell 2000 popping 1%. Growth stocks impressed even more, with the Innovator IBD 50 ETF closing up 1.6%. So it does look like it's a good time to be in the market. I do hope that some of you picked up a little bit on the bottom. I am going to be cautious still, but this is not official financial advice because I don't want to pick up at the top and then see another COVID crash. But we'll see what happens with that. Not official financial advice once again. Let's grab our layoffs report today. Local one for us. Not a big national one, but a local one. North Mississippi Health System announces layoffs. From Devna Bose. I think we honestly are probably going to start to see some more healthcare layoffs coming up in the near future. Even though it was so hard for them to get people for a very, very long time. There, I think, especially with the Pinko Pox being in such a hard swing for as long as it was, exacerbating what they call the healthcare worker shortage, one of the things that I see is an overhire situation. And as people are not going for every little sniffle anymore because they're not terrified of the COVID, I think we're going to see some of the demand for that industry drop off. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. There's no Santeria being practiced here. So I can't tell you what's actually going to happen with that. But we will see. We'll continue to watch. North Mississippi Health Services is laying off employees, cutting their hours and reassigning them to different jobs. The health system announced the changes in an internal email to staff on Wednesday, sent on behalf of CEO Shane Spees. It is unclear how many and what kind of employees are being impacted by the layoffs and in reduction in hours. Kim Marlatt, the health system's vice president of marketing, refused to answer any questions about the decision. Financial losses limit the funds available to staff beds, maintain technology, and grow services, the email read. To fulfill our mission, our responsibility to the community, to continually improve their health, we must make our own dramatic shift at NMHS. The changes are part of a massive redesign necessitated by financial losses incurred by the pandemic and a movement in healthcare towards outpatient care, according to the email. However, the same email claims that health system has a strong balance sheet and has received an A rating for its financial management. During the Pinko Pox, the hospital system laid off around 100 employees, or 1.7% of its workforce, in 2013, according to a Daily Journal story. So that was a long time ago, but that was before while the Great Recession was in major swing. So we'll see what happens with that. We don't know again how many are going to be laid off, but we will see. And let's grab our main news of the day. We're going to start with an outlet that I don't typically use because they are so unbelievably propagandized, but we've got to talk about this one coming to us from MSDNC. And again, the only reason I actually included this is because the Daily Wire covered it too. So we've got something from either side of the aisle, which means we can kind of look through and see where the similarities are and where the differences are and find what the truth is and what's propaganda. Boombox says people need to read up on CBDC, that is central bank digital currency. I looked that up after the stream yesterday, by the way. When that comes in, everyone is screwed. That will be a full central bank control of your money and your life. Well, and again, go back out there and learn to garden, learn to hunt, learn to play music, and do anything that you can to lessen the need of using the government's currency. You can't get away from it completely, but you can lessen the need. This is from Jordan Rubin over at MSDNC. They start off editorializing too, because it's MSNBC, obviously. The Ray Epps conspiracy theory that he was an undercover FBI agent who ginned up the January 6th Capitol Selfie Fest was fueled in part by the fact that he was at the Capitol that day but was never charged. However, according to Epps' newly filed defamation lawsuit against Fox News, charges are coming. That would obviously be an unwelcome development for Epps, but also for the dubious theory pushed by ex-Fox News host Tucker Carlson that prompted Epps' suit. The plaintiff, Donald Trump supporter from Arizona, claims in his filing that the Department of Justice told him in May that it planned to seek criminal charges against him. Oh, in May! So they still have time to chase him around and for him to go back and run away because he's trying to hide from everybody right now. 2.5 years after the Capitol attack. We will touch on that after the Daily Wire article. And what would be quite a twist if true, Epps claims he's facing charges because of Fox News and Carlson, whom the network fired in April, days after it reached the nearly $800 million settlement in Dominion Voting Systems defamation lawsuit. The relentless attacks on Fox and Mr. Carlson and the resulting political pressure likely resulted in the criminal charges, according to Epps' defamation complaint filed in Delaware this week. Although it is difficult to believe that the DOJ would have pursued the matter if Fox had not focused on its lies on Epps, ultimately the criminal charges conclusively demonstrate the falsehood of the story that Mr. Carlson and Fox told about Epps. According to the complaint signed by lawyer Brian Farnan, who also represents Dominion in the historic defamation case against Fox. No doubt, being charged by the government would certainly pour colder water on the notion that Epps was covertly working for it. That's going to be important after we read the Daily Wire article. So yes, he is apparently, according to the DOJ, or according to his attorneys, let's backtrack on that for a second. He is apparently going to be charged now for being at the Capitol on January 6th. Let me read a little bit from the Daily Wire and see where some of the cross is on this from the Daily Wire. Ray Epps to be criminally charged for events of January the 6th, his attorney says, from Ryan Saavedra. An attorney for Epps, a man seen on video wearing a Trump hat during the January 6th Selfie Fest, says that his client has been informed by federal law enforcement officials that they intend to charge him in connection with the events that day. The revelation was made in the lawsuit that Epps filed against Fox News on Wednesday that has accused the network and former host Tucker Carlson of defaming him. Epps has long been accused by many of being an undercover federal agent who instigated some of the events of the day. He was strongly denied being a federal agent. Buried deep in the lawsuit, Epps' lawyer says the DOJ recently informed Epps that it plans to prosecute him. Epps' lawyer blamed Carlson for the potential forthcoming charges. Well, no, that's not entirely true either, by the way. Finally, in May of 2023, the DOJ notified Epps that it would seek to charge him criminally for the events of January 6, 2021. 2.5 years later, the lawsuit said the relentless attacks by Fox and Mr. Carlson and the resulting political pressure likely resulted in the criminal charges. Epps was a central figure in the Capitol Selfie Fest from the beginning. The 62-year-old Marine from Arizona is seen in multiple video clips from January 6th and the day before trying to whip up other Trump supporters to go into the Capitol the next day. "I'll say it! We need to go into the Capitol," Epps said in one clip. At least 4 times on video, Epps repeats the call to action to go into the Capitol. Christopher Wray has grilled lawmakers on Wednesday on a variety of issues, including Epps. "I'm not going to engage here in a discussion about individual people who are not going to be prosecuted," Wray responded. So let's talk a bit about what's happening here. Now, number one, the first thing off of this is the fact that they informed him that they plan to bring charges against him in May. Why would you do that as a prosecutor? And again, unless this is some big white-collar crime or some major national news because of a break-in at your home by the FBI. Like, Ray Epps is not Trump. And in fact, Ray Epps is, again, being treated differently than absolutely anybody else that was there that day. Completely differently. What did they do to most of the people who were there and happened to walk into the Capitol? whether or not they were violent or not, whether they were violent, whether they were just milling around, or whether they were streaming and reporting on the whole thing with a cell phone in each hand. I'll tell you what they didn't do. They didn't inform the person's lawyers. Months. I mean, in May, that's 2 months ago. Months in advance that they actually planned to bring charges against him. No, they came in. They took all the hardware. They took all the computers. They took all the cell phones. And they took the people into custody without warning. So that's point number one. And point number two does come on the heels of this massive lawsuit that App's judge shopped for. Now, we talked a bit about this in the Discord today. A little bit of back and forth between myself and Seawall. And we talked a bit about what was happening there, what's happening with this, and what this means. Especially given the fact that the lawsuit is coming. And I pointed out in the Off Hours Discord as well, that an indictment and a charge are not convictions. Something that our friends on the left need to be reminded of with the Donald, with their orange demon. Yes, he was indicted. That does not mean he's going to get convicted. Although with Donald, I do think that they are judge shopping. They're trying to find a way to foolproof it that he's going to be convicted. Or alternately to foolproof it that he doesn't, so they can come back out and say, evil, complicit, appointee, and we got to do this again, and to hell with double jeopardy. Or things like that. Or corrupted justice system, or any number of other things that they're going to do for this. That whole situation is weird. Do I believe Epps is going to be charged? Yes, I do. Because it looks good for the court and the lawsuit that he's filing. What do you mean by that? What do I mean by that? The FBI can bring any number of charges at this point. Inciting a riot, attempt to, conspiracy to interrupt a government process, trespass, depending on how close they actually did witness him get to the Capitol building, or a host of other things. Conspiracy to rile up violence against the government, and I don't know what the exact legalese term is for that, but it's not something that the government very much enjoys. In fact, they kind of frown on that quite a bit, actually. So they can come in and parade a bunch of charges and have him go to Washington, D.C. and surrender to authorities and get his court date and everything else. I mean, clearly, again, he is not a massive enough flight risk, somehow, that they just go back and raid his trailer and haul his ass in. Like they did with literally everybody else that they charged from this thing. And then they give him a court date somewhere out past where the lawsuit court date is. And somewhere quietly, after he wins his X amount of dollars with the lawsuit, a either sympathetic judge who just saw how terrible Fox News treated him, or a prosecutor comes in and says, you know what, no, we don't actually need to charge this guy. Let's just cut him loose. He's done. He didn't do anything wrong. But the charges were there during the lawsuit, and that looks really, 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 really bad for Fox News, whose big plank of their platform on talking about Ray Epps and the fact that he had something to do is the fact that he was put on the FBI's most wanted list and then taken immediately back off of it. And in fact, again, will not be facing charges after 2.5 years. He will finally be facing some sort of charge for this. And again, that's if this even goes anywhere. So I call bullshit on this. I've called bullshit on this from the start. And even NBC kind of showing the hand with this one, saying that, yes, this completely disparages the defense of the Fox News lawsuit, of Fox News in the lawsuit. who are probably going to come back out and say, hey, why was he never charged for this? Like everybody else who was involved was. But that is what they're at for that. I will believe the charges. I'm sorry. I actually don't have to come back out and say I'll believe the charges when I see them, because I do believe they're coming. I do believe the government can put on a show to make sure that somebody that needs to be taken care of wins a lawsuit. But that is our Ray Epps news for the day. We've got one more here actually from CBS. I apologize. January 6th committee staffer, zero evidence that Ray Epps was a federal agent. That's probably true, actually. I mean, he was a Marine, so there's a possibility that he was a federal agent at some point, and even possibly this point, but it's a more believable story. And again, I don't have enough evidence to come back out and point blank drop it in court and say, case closed, Ray Epps was a federal informant. But it is much more believable to say that they talked to somebody who looks like the working man-ish type, who was a Marine at one point, and said, hey, we see that your ranch is in a little bit of trouble here. You want to make a little bit of money or have us erase the debt with the bank? Yeah, just wear this hat. It's nice and clean and brand new. Wear this hat in D.C. and tell people to go into the Capitol. That's all you have to do. Live from Capitol Hill, it's Clusterfuck. Thank you, Mogwai. Let's read a little bit of this one here from Keith Zubro. In the months after the January 6th Selfie Fest, an Arizona man named Ray Epps became the target of a conspiracy theory that accused him of being a federal agent that incited the riot. The unfounded accusation began on a right-wing website and seeped into Fox News Channel's primetime shows, including Tucker Carlson Tonight. This is so editorialized. And the Ingram angle, the conspiracy theory, was amplified by elected members of Congress, including Cruz and Green and Matt Gaetz. I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene actually moved to impeach Ray Epps at some point, didn't she? Mogwai? And this is, I think we read this article back at the time, because this is from April 23rd. This is when he sat on 60 Minutes and complained about how hard his life was because he said, let's go into the Capitol in a Trump hat. Meanwhile, again, there are people who have been in solitary for 2.5 years for doing a lot less than he did. Alright, let's talk about cocaine. If you wanna hang out, you gotta take her out. Cocaine. Secret Service ends investigation into cocaine found at the White House without identifying a suspect. Oh, I'm so shocked. I'm not shocked. From Luke Barr, Rachel Scott, Catherine Falders, and Alexandra Hutzler. This is just going to throw up conspiracy theories on both sides, by the way. The paid shills, your Sissons, your Maoris, which I think Sisson is actually suspended on Twitter right now. But your Wortmans and your Jersey, My Wife's Son, Reliant, and JoJo from Jers are now coming out and saying, because they couldn't find any biometrics on this, that means that it was planted by an evil MAGA person trying to smear Joe Biden, Honorable Joe Biden. And meanwhile, everybody with half a brain, but also everybody who is against Joe Biden, whether left, right, or center, are saying, yeah, this, if they couldn't find biometrics on this, it was probably hunters. The Secret Service said it had closed the investigation into how cocaine ended up at the White House without identifying a suspect. The agency statement came after congressional Republicans said that they were told in a classified Secret Service briefing that the investigation into the cocaine found at the White House West Wing earlier this month was concluded without a determination of who was responsible. At which point Mitch McConnell walked by and suddenly they couldn't find the cocaine anymore. Boomboxes says, bribe and be like, I'd like to buy the world some Coke. There was no surveillance video footage found that provided investigative leads or any other means for investigators to identify who may have deposited the found substance in this area, the agency said in a lengthy statement. Without physical evidence, the investigation will not be able to single out a person of interest from the hundreds of individuals who passed through the vestibule where the cocaine was discovered. At this time, the Secret Service's investigation is closed due to lack of physical evidence. Honk, honk, honkity honk, 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 honk. The Secret Service says the packaging was subjected to an advanced fingerprint and DNA analysis by the FBI Crime Lab. The investigation included a methodical review of security systems and protocols, the agency statement said. This review included a backwards examination that spanned several days prior to the discovery of the substance and developed an index of several hundred individuals who may have accessed the area where the substance was found. The focal point of these actions developed a pool of known persons for comparison of forensic evidence gleaned from the FBI's analysis of the substance's packaging. On July the 12th, the Secret Service received the FBI's laboratory results, which did not develop latent fingerprints and insufficient DNA was present for investigative comparisons, the statement said. Following Thursday's closed-door briefings to members of staff of the House Oversight Committee, Republicans said they viewed the development as a failure of the agency. Yeah, failure. That's one way to put it. And said the briefers said the investigation was concluding. So much to unpack here. So much. The Secret Service can use location data on your cell phone. Advanced facial recognition patterns. Telemetry. And leftover partials of fingerprints on a flagpole to drag people in from across the country for simply being within 5 feet of the White House on January the 6th. I'm sorry, within 5 feet of the Capitol. They didn't go to the White House. Being within 5 feet of the Capitol on January the 6th. And the Capitol is only the second most surveilled building in the history of man, followed only by the White House. So, in the most surveilled building, with cameras on every angle, with audio, we don't know who and when a packet of cocaine was dropped. I don't buy it. I absolutely do not buy it. I'm not going to run right out and say that it was Hunter. Again, given the fact that so much of the mainstream media came out as quickly and said that anybody who believes it was Hunter was a dangerous conspiracy theorist, that gives me some credence to the fact that it probably was, but again, the court system works on evidence, as the rest of it, so we're going to have to see some more evidence other than like the points that I brought out. Those would be good if this was a criminal case to buffer up the argument, but I mean, that's speculative. That would only be an addendum to it. That wouldn't be the main argument of the case. And to say that they don't know who it is, to me, someone should lose their job over this. The thing's a trash can. Everyone wants to pick and choose. They need to shut the whole thing down. Put the garden hose to it and clean it out, Tim Burchett said, adding the Secret Service told members. In the briefing, the bag contained less than a gram of coke. Mogwai says, sorry, Miss Biden, that coke's for real. Did not mean to blow it in your eyes. I've done bumps so many, many times. Thank you, Mogwai. Let's see. Members told reporters the Secret Service informed them they narrowed down the list of suspects to 500 people during the weekend that the coke was found, and said the group included a mix of staffers and visitors who were on a tour. West Wing tours are invitation only. Members said that they were told there are 182 lockers in the wall where visitors are typically told to store their electronics and cell phones. They said they were told the cocaine was found in locker 50. Lauren Boebert claims the key to that locker is missing. Well, they got into it somehow. There's no collateral system in place, there's no assignment of the lockers, and there was one of the concerns I raised to Secret Service. We need to be able to track individuals and which locker they're using, she said. Anything revolving around Biden Incorporated gets treated differently than any other Americans, and that's got to stop, House Speaker McCarthy said. Yeah, it's that two-tier justice system they were telling us about. So, that is where we are at for that. But Boebert is coming out and telling us, and this is from the Daily Wire, nobody else pushed on this one, that this isn't the first time either. From the Daily Wire, Boebert says cocaine is not the first drug discovered at the White House under Biden, from Leif LeMahieu. Mogwai says there are more cameras in the White House, only the Kardashians have more cameras. Well, I mean, there's a lot of real estate back there for them to film, so you got to keep that in mind. Lauren Boebert said on Thursday that cocaine was not the first drug discovered at the White House during the Biden admin, according to a new report. Boebert said that marijuana has been found at the White House twice since 2022, according to Just the News. Who the fuck cares? Excuse my language, but it's weed. Boebert's comments come after the Secret Service announced that it closed the probe into the cocaine found at the White House without any suspects. This is the third time that drugs have been found in the White House property since 2022, and we did not even hear about the marijuana, she said. I certainly did not hear about the marijuana that was found in 22, 2 times. Now there's cocaine on the property, so everyone that they do is move along to the next story, and you know there will be another Biden crime crisis. Who cares? It's weed. It's legal in most of the country at this point. Is it most of the country, or is it still... Are legal states still the minority? How many states have legal weed? 23, so it's still not the majority of the country yet. 23 states... plus DC, Guam, and the Northern Mariana Islands. Yeah, why are we concerned about weed being found in the White House? It's legal in DC. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, mushrooms or LSD could make Brandon somewhat coherent. I didn't say, and I did a really, really vague search on Google for that. All I said was how many states have legal weed in 2023. Let me see. Medical. Okay, medical is 40 states plus DC. So, yeah. Who gives a damn? NPC News reported that uniformed division officers had previously found marijuana possessed by 2 White House guests. The weed was reported in quantities under DC's legal limit. So again, who cares? And the visitors were still instructed not to bring marijuana back into the White House. Boebert was one of the lawmakers who attended a closed meeting with the Secret Service about the investigation into the coke after the House Oversight and Accountability Chairman Jim Comer asked for a briefing on the incident. Who cares? This is how you lose elections, by the way, Republicans. Keep that in mind. We've got some more news on the White House. We're already halfway through the stack. We're at the halfway point. I mean, again, we'll be doing things I like and things I hate later, but the main stack ends here. White House threatens to revoke hard pass a reporter for being rude to token diversity hire at briefing. From Andrew Chapados. Oh, come on. Hold on, we gotta refresh this because stupid advertisement. Reporter Simon Atiba, who's often clashed with token diversity hire, was formally warned that his hard pass could be revoked due to bad behavior and violating conduct. A hard pass eliminates the need for a reporter to go through a White House screening process and requires that journalists be present in the White House for at least 90 days out of a 180-day period. Otherwise, outlets apply for exceptions or a 6-month pass, which don't allow as much access according to the Columbia Journalism Review. The letter listed 4 examples when Today News Africa correspondent allegedly broke the White House's rules of conduct. Now, there is some actual merit to coming out and saying, hey, you don't play nice, so we're going to come back out and revoke your passes. But, I mean, if this guy's actually getting into sparring matches and saying nasty stuff about token diversity hire, we're actually going to see stories of this coming from MSDNC and CIANN and NPC News and stuff like that. I don't buy this. Sounds more to me like he asked a few hard questions and then said, hey, don't do that again or you're not going to be allowed back here. We'll censor your outlet. You impeded the June 26, 2023 press briefing and interrupted the press secretary. When the press secretary called on another member of the press, you continued to interrupt, preventing your colleague from asking his question. You did not stop interrupting, the first example read. Which Jim Acosta did all the time, by the way. The primary reason added that Atiba was informed by the press secretary that he was being rude to diversity hire and his colleagues, but did not stop. On May 13, 2022, repeatedly interrupted colleagues who were attempting to ask important questions about the supply of baby formula. On December 8, 2022, you interrupted a press briefing and demanded to ask a question. When the press secretary tried to answer your question, you interrupted and shouted over her answer. The warning continued. On March 20, 2023, you prevented the press secretary from introducing the White House guests at a press briefing by shouting over her. Other members of the press called for decorum in the room. The letter decried. So, I'm still a little bit concerned that we are only hearing about this for the first time right now. We've got Greg Price saying absolute chaos in the White House press briefing as Simon Atiba yells at diversity hire for not giving him questions in 7 months. Other reporters get very angry at him. Let's listen.
You can't keep discriminating against some people in the briefing room because you don't like them, you don't like them.
So you have a choice.
No,
you have a choice. You have a choice.
A number of people
Okay.
in the briefing room, and I'm saying that that's not right. This is not China. This is not Russia. This is the United States. This is the White House. It's been 7 months. I sent you emails.
The rest of us are here too, pal.
It's been 7 months. You guys have not done anything for
If
me.
you have grievances, you should bring them to her later.
I have
Right
done
now,
that.
this is
I've
for the
done that.
entire
All my
press
emails
corps.
have been
And the
ignored.
press corps is tired of dealing with this.
It isn't just about you,
I
Simon.
understand that you get questioned all the time and you don't understand what it is to sit here for 8 months and being discriminated against. I understand that you're in the front row and you feel comfortable and you get questioned all the time. But there are people in the back who don't get any questions.
Don't make assumptions about what the rest of us do. Mind your manners when you're in here. If you have a problem, you bring it up afterwards. But you are impinging on everybody in here who's only trying to do their job.
Okay, thank you. I'm saying that you shouldn't discriminate against some people because you don't agree with their question, you're offended by your question.
You made your point.
We all heard it.
I'm shocked, actually, that we didn't hear about this before today. Until the point that he's getting his press pass revoked. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that this does appear to be from a foreign outlet, which means that we're probably not going to be getting the same kind of news coverage of this person. And there might be color that plays into this as well, but that is what they're doing for that. Let's talk about the Hollywood strike from NPC News. Hollywood actors are going on strike after contract negotiations fail. From Daniel Arkin. Thousands of Hollywood actors are heading to the picket lines after their labor union and a trade group representing the industry's leading studios failed to reach a deal on a new contract grinding film television production to a halt. Oh no, what will we ever do? It's not like we don't have a platform where a million minutes of content, a million hours of content are uploaded to every single minute. And it's made by the people, not by studios. Oh no, whatever will we do? Mogwai says South Carolina is illegal to both medical and recreational. Linda Graham is the only reason sodomy is legal in South Carolina. Mogwai says the crowd in Springer was more controlled. Hey, I think he did my tech support the other day. Nice. I like that. By the way, again, I haven't heard from Boomboxes or Mogwai or Mr. Scott. What are we having for dinner tonight, you guys? I'm doing leftovers again. Leftover blue cheeseburgers and a salad. Delightful. The National Board of Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, or SAG-AFTRA, voted unanimously Thursday morning to go on strike, the Guild announced at an afternoon news conference. The picket lines will start to form Friday, marking the first time film and television performers have staged a work stoppage since 1980, when former SAG president Ronald Reagan was campaigning for the White House, and a top-rated series on U.S. television was Dallas. I got this feeling that was a much bigger deal at the time. Oh, I just realized I probably shouldn't be asking Boomboxes what he's having for dinner, because it's like, what is it, 6 hours ahead in the UK right now? I know they're all in one time zone. So it's like 1 o'clock in the morning over in the UK. Boomboxes, what are you having for breakfast? What's happening to us is happening all across all fields of labor. When employers make Wall Street and greed their priority, they forgot about the essential contributors that make the machine run. SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher, who is best known for her starring role in the sitcom The Nanny. The previous contract expired at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time on Wednesday. The Guild members, rattled by the economics of the streaming era and the rise of unregulated digital technologies, seek higher base compensation and safeguards around the use of artificial intelligence, which is, by the way, a fair, if you're going to be unionized, that's actually a fair request. I don't typically care for unionization, especially in the corporate world, but in an industry where, let's face it, AI can eliminate almost the entire industry, both on the acting side and the writing side. That's a fair question. That's a fair concern to have. Among other demands, Hollywood's writers are already striking over similar issues. In a news release early Thursday, SAG-AFTRA said that after more than 4 weeks of bargaining, the trade association that represents major companies such as Disney, Netflix, and Warner Bros. Discovery remains unwilling to offer a fair deal on the key issues that are essential to its members. And again, the big part of this is, this time through, nobody's going to care. I think there's still going to be people that care, but for the most part, nobody's going to give a damn about this. Because if our favorite television shows aren't on TV, they'll either watch a rerun or they'll go watch something on demand on Netflix or on YouTube. I don't think this is going to have quite the power. Like in 1980, when the acting stopped and the production stopped while Ronald Reagan was running for president, that was a big deal because that was really the only entertainment that people had at night. I mean, without the TV, they actually had to sit there and talk to each other. God forbid, in 1980. But now there's just so many options. You can watch contemporary. You can watch Big Stack D metal casting, which is, we're going to be talking about that later, and things that I like and things that I hate. You can do so many other things than just plop down in front of a badly written network television program. Oh, it says, if I had to spend a month with Marjorie Taylor Greene or Fran Drescher, I'd be an impeachment paper printing press. Nice. Boomboxer says, I only eat one meal a day the rest of the day. I pick at food and eat snacks and stuff. Bob Iger weighing in on the strike from Variety. Disney CEO Bob Iger says writers and actors are not being realistic with strikes. It's very disturbing to me. From Elise Schaefer. During an appearance on CNBC's Squawk Box on Thursday, CEO Bob Iger said the writers and actors unions are going on strike in Hollywood are not being realistic with their expectations. Yeah, again, the higher base pay and all the fun little things like that, and the healthcare and everything else that they're probably not going to get, they'll probably roll over on. But again, I will give the SAG-AFTRA the benefit of the doubt that your AI question is a very, very reasonable one. Speaking to David Faber from the Sun Valley Conference in Idaho, Iger commented on the ongoing Writers Guild of America strike and imminent decision for SAG-AFTRA to join them. It's very disturbing to me. We've talked about disruptive forces on this business and all the challenges we're facing. The recovery from the pinko pox, which is ongoing. It's not completely back. It's the worst time in the world to add to that disruption, Iger said. I understand any labor organization's desire to work on behalf of its members to get the most compensation and be compensated fairly based on the value that they deliver. We managed as an industry to negotiate a very good deal with the Directors Guild that reflects the value that the directors contribute to this great business. We wanted to do the same thing with the writers, and we'd like to do the same thing with the actors. There's a level of expectation that they have that's just not realistic, and they're adding to the set of challenges that this business is already facing that is quite frankly very disruptive. Again, my big question here is, did you even notice that the writers are on strike? Because they've been on strike for, has it been since May still? They've been on strike for a while. It's made absolutely zero difference in my life that they're on strike. None. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Nada. Alright, let's talk a little bit of political news here. From The Blaze, Trump won't be at the Iowa Republican Presidential Forum, but his stance on Ukraine will be on host Tucker Carlson's mind. So, by the way, this thing is going all day tomorrow. I thought that was going to be just a quick forum and debate that maybe a primetime amount and we just watch that on Contemporary, but no, this thing is going all day. Which means we'll probably actually get some news pouring in from it, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. From Joe McKinnon. Blaze TV will broadcast the 2023 Family Leadership Summit, Principle Over Politics in Des Moines on July 4th, beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I could probably go to that if I really wanted to. Well, no, really, I couldn't because I have to work. Because we've got some people out right now. But Des Moines, I don't know exactly, but that's not that far. The event, hosted by Tucker Carlson, will present the GOP primary contenders with an opportunity to further distinguish themselves before a massive audience and make the case for why they are the best equipped to helm the nation. The candidates also run the risk of having Carlson expose whatever potentially unpopular views they might hold, which mainstream outfits might otherwise have glossed over if given the chance, which I am very excited for that. We're going to figure out who Tucker is playing favorites for, DeSantis, in a big, big hurry. Although former President Trump and far away the leader in the Republican primary race will be noticeably absent, some of the defining views are sure to make their way to the stage for debate, particularly his stance on Ukraine, which has captivated Carlson. In his first interview since leaving Fox, Carlson recently told the titular host of the Stay Free Russell Brand podcast, which I will be listening to that over the weekend. I got to do some driving this weekend, so that Trump will likely go down in history as one of the most consequential figures in a century, particularly on account of how he realigned the Republican primary against the wishes of Republican leaders. When I think about Trump right now, I'm struck by his foreign policy views. You know, Trump is the only person with stature in the Republican Party, really, who's saying, "Wait a second, why were we supporting an endless war in Ukraine?" said Carlson, which is a very, very based take. Leaving aside whether Trump's going to get the nomination, or get elected president, or would even be a good president, you know, I can't even assess that. All I can say at this point is that I'm grateful that he has that position. He's right, continued Carlson. And everyone in Washington is wrong. Everyone. And Trump is right on that question. And it's a big question. I remember how Donald Trump spent money. And that still may be a big point of turning me off from Donald Trump completely. That is going to be on the forefront of my mind on primary day and on general election day, because I do think he's going to get the general nod. In fact, I would say that he'd be almost running unopposed by the time primary day comes to Wisconsin, which is in April. But the stance on the Ukraine and getting it over with rather than trying to pick a winner or a loser, that, I will admit, has pushed me a little bit in his direction. I still won't vote for him at this point. But that's pushed me a little bit back into his direction. The Tucker Tate interview has at 71 million views so far. I am not interested enough in Andrew Tate to watch that one. Frankly, I still have no reason why I should care who Andrew Tate is. And a lot of people have tried to tell me about it. Let's grab one from CNN. Bank of America accused of opening fake accounts and charging illegal junk fees. From Matt Egan and Jeannie Shahidi. Federal regulators said Tuesday that they found Bank of America harmed customers with double dipping on fees, withholding credit card rewards, and opening fake accounts, all of which are violations of various consumer financial protection laws. As a result, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau ordered Bank of America to pay more than $100 million to customers and $90 million in penalties. The Office of Comptroller of the Currency also ordered Bank of America to pay $60 million in fines. The bank is the second largest in the U.S., serving 68 million individuals and small businesses. Some of the charges are reminiscent of the Wells Fargo scandal last decade that involved opening millions of bank accounts without customer authorization. Bank of America wrongfully withheld credit card rewards, double-dipped on fees, and opened accounts without consent. Makes me wonder about something. I wouldn't normally name drop off of this, but this actually affects me personally. And that's the fact, and I've told you guys about the identity theft and the fact that somebody in South Carolina opened up a credit card in my name back in 2006, and I didn't find out about it until what the hell did I find out about that? 2010? It was a Bank of America card. Bank of America was the debtor on that card. Now I have to wonder if it was a rewards card. I know nothing about this thing, so... Am I supposed to get rewards for the money that somebody else spent in my name that I paid back? Finally. 12 years later. But then my other question is was I affected by the fact that they'd opened up a card in my name and then somebody had just gotten a hold of it? I don't know. I'd have to talk to an attorney about that. My attorney's retiring, and that kind of makes me sad. She's been with me since I was 18. I've been working with her for that long. She's earned it. Stated violations. The CFPB said Bank of America harmed hundreds of thousands of consumers over a period of several years and across multiple product lines and services. Among them, the CFPB and OCC found that the bank, which normally charged customers $35 their transaction, was declined due to insufficient funds, allowed those fees to be repeatedly charged for the same transactions. That was the standard up until like 2 years ago, by the way, resulting in customers being charged tens of millions of dollars in fees on resubmitted transactions, according to the OCC. That would happen after the first transaction was declined if a third-party merchant resubmitted the charge to the customer's account, which would still have had insufficient funds to cover that expense. At that point, the customer would again be hit with either the $35 insufficient funds fee or $35 overdraft fee. The bank's disclosures did not clearly explain that multiple fees could result from the same transaction. Additionally, customers had no ability to know when or if a merchant would resubmit a transaction to the bank for payment, therefore could not reasonably avoid the assessment of multiple fees for the same transaction, the OCC said in a statement. So, they're hurting right now, definitely. And this is probably going to hit their bottom line. Still a bit curious as to whether or not this would affect me in some way, or if I could maybe get a few points back on my credit score. I don't even want cash back either, by the way. I don't care about that. That's paid. That's been paid for a few months now, almost a year at this point. But I would sure love to have a few extra points on my credit score if what they're getting busted for right now resulted in what happened to me. I think that'd be fair compensation. And the last one in the news, we'll be talking about Twitter again in things I like and things that I hate, comes to us from CNBC. Twitter says FTC probe has spiraled out of control and asks to terminate privacy settlement from Lauren Fisher, or Finer rather, not Fisher. Twitter asked a federal court on Thursday to end or modify an FTC order that governs how the company stores and uses information about Twitter users. The 2011 agreement originally resolved charges on the platform failed to adequately safeguard its users' information. The order subjected Twitter to an independent assessment of its security program for 10 years and barred the company from misleading customers about its security and privacy practices for 20 years. Twitter is asking the court to determine whether the 2011 FTC order is equitable, in light of the FTC's conduct. According to the filing, the company said the investigation has spiraled out of control and has become tainted by bias, which is a fair assessment. Look, if Twitter did not handle user privacy properly, then they should be hit with a fine for that. But we're also in a situation in a world where Africa man bad. An Africa man like Trump means Africa man bad. And he's going to tank Twitter and he's going to fail Twitter and it's not even safe and all the other things that are coming off of this. There's almost no way that this investigation can be unbiased, especially if, again, we go back down the road of Africa man likes Trump. So I don't know if it should end, but I think it's at least worth a second look. Maybe find somebody from the outside to see if it's feasible or not. So that is our Twitter news for that. And now, because I said we're going to get out of here a little bit early tonight, we're done with our regular news, and now we're going to do some things that I like and some things that I hate. Things that I like today. We're going to go right into the video game sphere, which is fun because we are listening to Video Game Study Lounge over on YouTube. If you have not checked that out, that is Game Chops is the name of the channel. They are streaming live 24/7 video game lo-fi, which is awesome. It's really nice to have in the background. And for this stream, it is copyright free. I do use DJ Cutman's other stream when I'm at work or something, because it's got a few other songs that I like on that playlist. But they're copyrighted, which means I can't use them for stream. Most of the songs are actually the same between both the channels, but the extra ones, some of the extra ones on the DJ Cutman radio are copyrighted, which means nope, can't use those on stream. They'll give you a slap. There are a couple on this playlist that'll hit you for demonetization, which I have AdSense off anyway on YouTube, so that doesn't matter. But we're going to talk a bit about the Nintendo Direct because, and this is coming, I didn't know about this until today, but we finally got a release date today, which is the reason this hit the news and the reason that this came across my board. One of my favorite video games is getting a remake coming in November. Like, this is so exciting to me. I'm actually going to buy a Switch, and then I'm never going to be able to say that my newest console is a GameCube again, because I have been looking forward to this since they first started rumoring this. And by the way, this means that Square Enix and Nintendo got along for the first time, I think, since the release of this game. Its original release in 1996. But of course, we are getting a graphical upgrade. I think that the game is going to stay exactly the same, but we're getting a graphical upgrade for Super Mario RPG: The Legend of the Seven Stars. So let's look at the trailer for that. Very excited for this, by the way. I can't get over how great this looks. Get rid of it. 11:17, you guys. I am normally the person who comes back out and says, do something new, write something new. So what I just said and what we just watched here goes completely against what I normally say here, but I'm barely excited for this. This is probably the most excited I've ever been for a video game in my life. And yes, I will be buying a Switch because of this, and I will be buying this game when it comes out. And it'll probably get streamed. From what I understand, there's actually a direct stream option for the Switch. So I don't even have to go through a capture card. I don't know how it works because, again, nothing newer than a GameCube. There's some other things on the Switch I'm actually interested in a little bit too. So this might be how I'm spending my winter. We'll see. But yes, my favorite video game is coming to Switch on a graphical upgrade. That's amazing. Other things that I like today, speaking of things that I've been spending my time with once we're off stream here, as I have pointed out to you guys, I typically don't do any sort of political stuff. I don't listen to Tim Pool or Ben Shapiro or anything else once the camera's off. I do listen to them intermittently throughout the day, but I can't do it at work as much as I used to. Like when I was working a warehouse job, I could not. I could sit and listen to what I wanted to pretty much all day long. Podcasts or YouTube videos for 8 hours a day. And yes, sometimes I even hate listening to Pool because otherwise I ran out of stuff to listen to. But now, pretty much, and I do watch YouTube once I'm off air, but like, I don't want to listen to Ben or Styx or anybody else like that. I listen to other stuff. So one of the channels I've been getting into lately, because I like machining, metal casting, and things like that, a lot of the industrial arts, is a channel out of, I believe, Australia, if I remember correctly, called Big Stack D Casting. And this guy, there's never any words in it whatsoever. If there are any words in this whatsoever, and those of you listening back in the audio platform, you're not going to be able to hear narration or anything from this. There's no background music. There's no words. He literally just does the process. Full sound, so you can hear everything that's going on there. Of melting, mostly brass, but also copper and aluminum. I know I've got one that I've fallen asleep to twice now, and I've stopped it before, where he took I think it was a 2,800 pound electric motor and pulled all the copper windings out of it, and then I haven't seen him melt it down yet because I keep falling asleep, but he's going to go melt down the copper and see how much copper he can get out of it. But this one was the one I watched the other night. It's a little bit shorter. We're not going to watch all 17 minutes, but he got two viewers sent him a bunch of keys, and he melted them all down. So let's watch Big Stack D Casting. I got this box from a subscriber, and it's full of keys and a few padlocks. I'll put the padlocks aside for now, which in this video he never actually did anything with the padlocks. %90 of these will be brass. There's going to be some zinc in there too, by the way. Ooh, what's this? That is a McGregor pin, I believe from Ireland. Got a different bag of keys as well. Alright, let's move forward just a little bit to the actual melting. Stops to play with the Frenchies. He's going to melt that brass block later on in the video. 3 kilograms, because he does it all in communist numbers. There's your melt. Pulling out some of the stuff that didn't melt, obviously. I've been wanting to do stuff like this for a while too. Like, again, most of it came down to space while renting. Oh, and when he cools the stuff, he puts it on a block of ice like that. But if you're into metal casting or the industrials, I definitely recommend going and checking this channel out. Big Stack D, all one word. Again, no words. So it's not going to be something you can listen to on the background while you're cooking or something. It's something you actually have to watch. But I think some of you guys would enjoy that, so go check that one out. Official endorsement. Other things that I like today. It's not the left or the right. Singer Jewel Kilcher defends Sounds of Freedom amid backlash, which is a very brave position to take in DC. We haven't talked about the Sound of Freedom much on this channel because, number one, I haven't seen it. And number two, I usually leave the culture war stuff to my good friend Stephen Ignoramus because he's way better at reporting on culture war than I am. But the fact that this is seeping in, and I am in favor of the Sound of Freedom and the message that it conveys. Pedophilia is bad. Sex trafficking is bad. And there are a lot of people who are strangely trying to defend both of those situations right now, and it makes me feel a little bit weird about Hollywood. Definitely. Let's read a little bit here from Virginia Cruto over the Daily Wire. Singer and songwriter Jewel Kilcher showed her support for the new film Sound of Freedom, sharing a video on TikTok and Twitter encouraging everyone to go out and see the movie. Responding to a month-old tweet from Elon Musk, who had suggested that Angel Studios make the film available to stream on Twitter, the Foolish Games singer is sharing a video of herself talking about the importance of the video's message. The tweet that comes in says, "It saddens me that some on social media are trying to politicize this movie. This is not left or right. It's about millions of kids being trafficked, and no matter what your faith or creed, we need to protect all the vulnerable kids rather than fight over philosophical differences." And yeah, one of the big things is that people who especially are Democrats who don't necessarily want this message to get out or anything are saying that it's nothing but Q propaganda while they have never seen the movie. So let's listen to Alaskan singer-songwriter Jewel Kilcher.
You guys, I just saw The Sound of Freedom. You have to see it. I'm so verklempt. Some friends of mine made this movie, and it's been years of it being in production. It's the most inspiring film. Did you know that there are millions of children in slavery? This is the fastest growing criminal enterprise, and the amount of children enslaved right now is greater than all 300 years of the transatlantic slave trade. What the actual F? This is a true story about a man who just doesn't give up on a child. It is so touching. You're gonna love it. Please go see it. This is a little indie movie it's competing with all of the giant blockbusters, and it's kicking butt, and it deserves it. Go see this to have your heart filled. Love you guys. Take care of your babies.
Again, given what she does for a living, that is a very, very, very courageous stand to take. The left-wing mob could and possibly may come and destroy her for this. So, kind of glad to see it. And the more I hear about it, I might actually go and see this movie. While it's still in theaters, I might not wait till it hits streaming. Just to figure out what all the hype is about. It's been a while since I've seen a movie in the theater, so we'll see. One more thing that I like, because you guys know that I've been on the side of Damar Hamlin, and I said, even when it happened, when people started suggesting that a certain medical procedure that was involved that we can't talk about on YouTube, I said, it doesn't matter. Let's make sure this guy survives. We'll dicker over the details after the fact, but let's make sure this guy survives. Well, he has survived, and now he is presenting an award for service to the team that saved his life. Not a lot of people get the opportunity to do that. From Virginia Kruta over at the Daily Wire. Is this another? Did Virginia write this one too? Yes, both the things I like came from Virginia Kruta today. Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin was visibly emotional as he stood on stage at a Wednesday night ESPY award, waiting to present the Pat Tillman Award for service to the team that saved his life. The award is named for Tillman, an Arizona Cardinal who gave up his career in professional football to serve as a U.S. Ranger and later died in Afghanistan. It was presented on Wednesday to the Buffalo Bills training staff, who rushed to Hamlin's side when he collapsed on the field and suffered a cardiac arrest during a Monday night game against the Bengals this past January. Let's watch.
Please welcome this year's recipient of the Pat Tillman Award for Service, the training staff of the Buffalo Bills.
So, good on him. And again, not many people who get to that point in a cardiac arrest laying on the field get to, and I'm not just talking the football field, but like you're laying on the ground with your heart stopping for whatever reason. And again, because this is YouTube, we're not going to get into a lot of the reasons for this, but because if you have a heart attack, if you smoked a lot, if you did nothing but eat fatty red meat and a bunch of potatoes for your entire life, and your heart stopped going down the road. Most people who have a heart stoppage do not get the chance to go and give an award to people who save their lives, because it is rare that once you're in that situation, your life gets saved. But Hamlin was able to do this. Again, we can sit and debate off of YouTube whether or not a certain medical procedure was involved, but I'm, again, really happy to see that he was able to do this. Now let's do a couple things that I hate. We're going to start with an article from TechCrunch talking about what's happening with Twitter, and then I'm going to tell you why I hate it, because for all intents and purposes, this should be something that I like. But from TechCrunch, Twitter starts sharing ad revenue with verified creators. From Amanda Silberling. Twitter is now paying its creators. Oh, look, they've got the tweet that we're going to be talking about here in just a minute. Twitter is now paying its creators for a share of the ad revenue earned from ads served in the replies to their posts. Users who subscribe to Twitter Blue have earned more than 5 million tweet impressions each month for the last 3 months are eligible to join, according to owner Elon Musk. The first round of creator payouts will total $5 million and will be cumulative from the month of February onward. These payouts will be delivered via Stripe. From what some large creators are sharing on Twitter, these payouts are substantial. Writer Brian Krasenstein, who has about 750,000 followers, claims that Twitter paid him $24,305 US. SK, a creator with about 230,000 followers, claims to have earned $2,236 from Twitter. Political commentator Benny Johnson, with 1.7 million followers, earned $9,546. Twitter's payouts are determined by tweet impressions. Babylon Bee writer Ashley St. Clair said she earned 7,153 according to her napkin math. She had around 840 million impressions from February through July. That would make her rate about 0.85 cents per milli, or $8.52 per million impressions. It's not clear whether or not individual CPMs change from user to user. Twitter is monetizing the ads served in tweet replies, as it would be difficult to determine which creators pay for ads served in the feeds. This is the same problem short-form video platforms like TikTok are running into with revenue sharing. Of course, this means that creators will want to incentivize users to reply to their tweets. In the best case, this would inspire conversation, but as we know from platforms like Facebook, extreme emotions drive the most engagement. Well, that's all well and good. Reason that this isn't things that I hate, because I always love opportunities for entrepreneurs to make more money, getting onto a new platform. But one of the reasons that I hate this comes from the fact that this happened. Brian Krasenstein, who shared out that he got almost $25,000. I do not follow Brian Krasenstein. I know a bunch of people who do. But see, one of the things with Brian Krasenstein when he got reinstated to Twitter is the fact that he started getting fed into my feed. He didn't the first time, by the way. I knew tangentially who the Krasensteins were, but I did not know. Like, I didn't follow them, I didn't know enough about them to come back and follow them or anything else like that. It was just a name that I heard sometimes on Matt and Blonde or Styx. Now he is fed into every single... Like, every time I go on Twitter, I see 2 or 3 posts from either him or his brother or both. Which means that Twitter is picking winners or losers. They're pushing people into feeds of people that don't follow them, and then paying out ad revenue on that. And that's the reason that I hate this. And yes, I understand that part of that is to go back and drive engagement, because rage tweets, especially, drive engagement. That's why we get a lot of MAGA people get served up into known left-wing accounts. And the Krasensteins get served up into my account, being anti-government. Because the more you look at it, the more you comment on it, and the more you try to get their goat for it, the more that they will come out and try to, well, again, they're going to serve it back up to you because you engage with it. And every time you engage, it makes them money. If you take down that algorithm and let everything grow platonically, I would actually have no problem with this whatsoever. I think this would be a good thing. But as this is done right now, this is Twitter picking winners and losers. Yes, Mr. Scott says it perfectly. And the rich get richer. And we actually don't have to go through this tweet because, except for the fact that Call Me K was the one who put it out there. Do not let this man make any more money off his bullshit tweets. You could do that, but again, that's going to involve blocking him, which I still have nobody blocked on my account. 0, nobody. But he's still going to get served up into my feed. Other things that I hate today: Forbes reporting tax filing platforms shared personal data with Meta and Google, who then in turn shared it with China. From Anna Faguai. For years, some I don't know why I keep trying to say top. That's not even in this article. For years, some tax prep companies shared the personal data of millions of customers with Meta and Google without consent from customers, potentially violating taxpayer privacy laws and a host of other things, by the way, according to a report published by a group of lawmakers on Wednesday. Now, mind you, they have no problem sharing out tax returns If it's for the evil orange man, which, and again, that story disappeared quickly, once they realize that there's no line on there that says, tax fraud goes here. Using tracking tools, tax prep companies shared customer data with Google and Meta without informing customers and without receiving proper consent from customers to share the data the report found. Tax Act, H&R Block, and TaxSlayer told lawmakers they shared information about customers, including their names, full addresses, emails, which deductions or exemptions they were eligible for, among other information. That's a no-no. That's a no-no. That's bad. That's wrong. The data was used to target ads to taxpayers and to train Meta's own AI algorithms. Meta confirmed to lawmakers investigating the relationship, the report said. Additionally, the report found the tax prep firms were careless with their treatment of taxpayer data and did not understand the extent to which taxpayer data would be shared and used by tech firms. The investigation was led by Elizabeth Warren, Ron Wyden, Richard Blumenthal, Tammy Duckworth, Bernie Sanders, Sheldon Whitehouse, as well as Rep. Katie Porter. I don't care that this was a list of all Democrats. That's a no-no. And then, of course, Zuckerberg turned around and packaged it and sold it to China. And then turned around and repackaged it and sold it to China again and again and again after feasting on it because Zuckerberg he needs data to survive. Give me more data. I still need to practice, by the way, the Lieutenant Commander data. Because that could actually be a more entertaining way to use to talk for Mark Zuckerberg. The only issue would be that I cannot use contractions when I use the data voice and facial expressions. This is why I never go to H&R Block, by the way. I do not do my own taxes either, because I'm not... I know some of you guys do, so I don't want to say what I was about to say. But I've never trusted, even though I read the entire tax code from front to back every year. The lady that does my taxes, who sometimes watches the show, is bonded. She has the insurance and the lawyers to pull out if for whatever reason I ever get audited. I may know just as much about the tax code as she does every year, year over year. But if I get audited, they go talk to her and her lawyers, not me. And again, with stupid bullshit like this, there is a reason I never go to H&R Block. That would be a stupid thing to do. Alright, last couple things that I hate. Come to us from Twitter again. This is just a stunning indictment of the American educational system. I was facepalming so hard I think I have a bruise on my forehead right now. And I had to read it, and I think you guys should have to hear it too. Randy's777 tweets out, "So I'm at the Walmart scanning and bagging almost $300 worth of groceries while the employee monitors, and then this happened. Her, why are you double bagging all your groceries? Me, excuse me? Her, you're wasting our bags. Me, if you don't like the way I'm bagging the groceries, feel free to come on over here and bag them yourself. Her, that's not my job. Me, okay then, I will bag my groceries how I please if that's alright with you. Her, why are you using 2 bags? Me, because the bags are weak, and I don't want the handles to break or the bottoms to rip out. Her, well that's because you're putting too much stuff in the bag. If you took half that stuff out and put it in a different bag, then you wouldn't need to double bag." At about this point, this is where I started to realize what was happening here. 10 seconds of me just staring at her. Me, so you want me to split these items in half and then put half of them in a different bag so I don't have to double bag? Her, exactly. Me, so I would still be using 2 plastic bags to hold the same number of items. Her, no, because you wouldn't be double bagging. Me, pressing 2 fingers to my left eye in an attempt to make it stop twitching. Me, okay. So here I have a jug of milk and a bottle of juice, double bagged. If I take the milk out and remove the double bagging and just put the milk in a single bag and the juice in a single bag, I'm still using 2 bags for these items. Her. No, because you're not double bagging them, so it's not the same number of bags. Me, looking around at about 10 other customers who at this point are enjoying the show. Me, is this like that Common Core math stuff I keep hearing about? Her, never mind, you just don't get it. And with that, she went back to her little podium so she could continue texting or playing games on her phone, or whatever it was she was doing before she decided to come over and critique my bagging skills. You're putting too many items in the bag, so you have to double bag, so take half the items out and put them in a separate bag. But it's not using the same amount of bags because you're not double bagging. Yes! This happens, by the way. I don't know if this is a true story or not, but I believe it. I've met people coming out of modern American schools. And this is a stunning indictment of the American education system. This is the reason I advocate for school choice. Because this girl would not have graduated high school with that logic. Alright, and the last one, and this comes to us on the propaganda side. The propaganda report. So, Chris Mowry, one of the paid shills, the one who didn't get suspended today, thankfully, because I can use this, decided that he had something to say about Jack Teixeira. Chris Mowry says Jack Teixeira was touted by the Republicans as a hero and a savior, which is, by the way, not true. I saw more critique coming from Jack Teixeira, or towards Jack Teixeira, coming from Republicans, than even Democrats who universally hated him. He was a 21-year-old Air National Guard employee who was arrested for transmission of classified defense information, with Marjorie Taylor Greene saying Teixeira is white male and Christian and anti-war. That makes him an enemy to the Biden regime, which is true, by the way. And he told the truth about troops being on the ground in Ukraine and a lot more, which, and again, that story disappeared in a hurry. Unlike other leakers, Jack was not interested in showing wrongdoing by the US government, except for the fact that he showed exactly wrongdoing in the US government. I don't care what his intention is. We'll talk about that in a second. He was a young kid interested in impressing his online peers, leaking key information relating to the Ukraine war. The Republicans twisted the narrative to make it seem as if he had done a service, which he did, by the way. When he did no such thing, he was in it for personal gain. With this, Jack was also fascinated with a race war, and was a white supremacist. Not proven. With a now leaked video of Jack showing him emptying a round of bullets into a target saying, I can't read that out loud, on YouTube. Those of you who are watching this on the video platform, whether live or after the fact, you can see why I can't read that on YouTube. This is who the Republican Party supports. We have elected officials touting a white supremacist in the name of discrediting our government agencies, which desperately need a discreditization in order to tear down our democracy and win elections. No, that's not the point. Let me correct the record for our paid little shill, Chris Mowry. First and foremost, our antivirus is expired. First and foremost, destroying or even the credibility Well, the credibility perhaps, but the character of the messenger does not change the message. We're being lied to about the Ukraine. We have been since the beginning. And Jack Teixeira showed this. The character of the messenger doesn't change any of that. He can scream as many racial slurs as he wants. And that does not change the fact that he showed that we were being lied to about what's happening in the Ukraine, and probably a lot more. So there's that aspect of it too. And number two, this, you can't just call anybody that you don't support a white supremacist, because that's usually not the case. And furthermore, again, I saw a lot of people praising the fact that the information was out there and we could see it, consume it, and make better judgments about it. I'm a little bit disappointed over the fact that we don't see as much talk about this anymore, because this is something that desperately needs to be talked about. But there were, if you talk to Republicans about government whistleblowers and leakers, especially, they are typically even more critical against leakers no matter what than Democrats are. Democrats will applaud a leaker depending on what his personal politics are and who is in charge of the government at the time. Republicans, even if they like the message that got leaked, will still say that was against the law and you should go to prison. Thank you for the information. Now go get in line and get your bag nasty. You're under arrest. There is nobody, with the exception of a few people out in the farthest reaches of MAGA, who think that this person is a hero. And as I've mentioned before, talking about the Donald and his supporters, most of them are not rock-ribbed Republicans either. They're typically Democrats who changed party because they felt pushed aside by Obama and the progressive agenda. Which is why they have no qualms about cheering for a government leaker if he gives them the message that they want, or his personal politics. I also, by the way, don't know if this kid is Christian. I would argue whether or not he's anti-war. I think, well, that's a Marjorie Taylor Greene quote. But for the horrendous quote at the end of Maury's tweet, I could honestly say that I don't know that he's anti-war. I think he's trying to push a war internally rather than externally. But this is what they do. This is what they twist the message to. And this is what people like Maury get paid to parrot. Like, that tweet was written by somebody in the Biden admin. He didn't write that. He was given the assignment, told to copy and paste it, put it out to his account, which is artificially inflated to 34.6 thousand people. And he gets paid $200,000 a year to do it. So, that is the thing that I hate. These are the things that I hate today. Well, we made it to 8, which I was actually a little bit surprised too, but we also got started a little bit late too. I don't even know what we're going to cover tomorrow unless something major breaks tomorrow. I think we've covered almost everything. And again, like when we did main news before we went into things I like and things that I hate, we were only at an hour. I was able to filibuster a little bit on things that I like and things that I hate. But let's throw some outro music up and let's head out of here for the day. Alright, so it was a good day. We got everything done. We looked at things I like and things that I hate. And still got out of here a bit early. I'm going to go get some dinner now. Leftover blue cheeseburgers and a nice big salad. Big salad. And go grab a shower and get up, get ready, and go do it all again tomorrow. So, thanks everybody who came by, hung out, chatted in the live chat. It's been a great time. I also thank you to the lurkers. 15 people watching at peak over on Rumble, 9 watching now. 7 people watching at peak on main platform, 4 watching now. I think we just actually got kicked off. Because I just saw the numbers fluctuate for the live chat over there, but we're heading out of here, so we've got that to look at instead. So, thanks everybody again. We'll be back here tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time, for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And if you can't get enough, or you didn't join at the beginning, you can check us out on the replays, YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, Facebook. You can check us out on all those platforms, or take us on the go over on the Spotify side. Go check us out, Contemporary with J. Edgar on Spotify. Follow me on Twitter, that is at JEdgar102. If you want to go follow over there, get on the Discord to keep the conversation going, and we will see you here tomorrow for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And until then, I am J. Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.